Chief Guest, Rokoto Imbau, Dr. Johnny Mandrai Wiwi, Madam President of the party, Mrs. Tupo Donindalo. Thank you, Tupo, for that very warm and kind and indeed generous introduction. Outgoing President, Mr. Raman Singh, Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, invited guests, party stalwarts, and I want to, in particular, acknowledge Mr. Ujagar Singh, National Federation Party's Legislative Council member in the 1960s, members, branch officials, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I know the heat is a little bit less, and I ask your indulgence this afternoon. Madam President, let me once again congratulate you on your appointment as President of the party, and more so I salute your courage in accepting the position in this most difficult of times. Madam, you are also not the my heartfelt tribute and tremendous appreciation to the National Federation Party for its wisdom and farsightedness in taking this decision this morning. Madam, you have my unflinching support, loyalty, and best wishes in shouldering this great responsibility for taking this great party forward. I join the whole party and thousands of citizens of our country in expressing our profound thanks to the outgoing President, Mr. Raman Pratap Singh. Mr. Raman Singh has led and steered our party in difficult times. You have, through service and commitment, strengthened our party. You have displayed that unflinching spirit of service that has been a hallmark for all our leaders past. This includes your late father, Mr. Ramjyoti Singh, our member from my own home constituency in the 1970s. Thank you, and Binaka Vakalevu, Mr. Singh. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not underestimate what lies ahead of us. With much humility, a clear understanding about the scale of responsibility and excitement, I have accepted the National Federation Party's appointment as its leader. The weight of history, I am aware, is heavy. Expectations are large. I am accepting a post previously held by some of the finest political leaders in our country. Mr. Jairam Reddy, Mr. Harish Sharma, the formidable A.D. Patel, late Mr. S.M. Koya, people from whom I and so many others draw such inspiration. On behalf of thousands of our supporters and Fiji citizens yearning for restoration of our democracy, I thank all those individuals in our recent leadership team who have steered our ship through stormy waters. Raman Singh, Attar Singh, Pramod Rai, Prem Singh, Bala Das, James Raman, Pramod Chand, Kamal Iyer, and many hard-working branch officials throughout the country. They never wavered from our commitment to democracy and respect for fundamental human rights for all of Fiji's citizens. Many of our prominent leaders are not on the stage today because of an unjust and undemocratic decree that prohibits trade union leaders from holding political positions. The NFP, since its birth 50 years ago, championed the universal freedoms of equality. We championed this in our good days when we were well represented in Parliament. We have championed these values when we were not represented in Parliament. This is not fed for our party. It is not a fashion statement to get for media sound bites. This belief in fundamental rights and freedoms defines who we are. Our country will make irreversible social and economic progress when our citizens are free. The organizations, including trade unions they belong to, are not free. The media they depend on are not free. Let me repeat that. The media they depend on are not free. We have fought these rights in 1950s, 1960s, after the coups of 1987, after the upheavals of 2000, and after the coup of 2006. We will continue fighting to restore our freedoms. Fighting for these freedoms is actually in our DNA. We therefore call upon government to rescind the political party's decree. In fact, yesterday they strengthened it. They make it an offense for trade union leaders to attend a convention like this. And today, brothers Akhtar Singh and Pramod Rai are not here because of that amendment to the political party decree, which is so essential. The removal of this decree is so essential to creating a level playing field for a free and fair election. Our citizens need these answers from this government. They need to know what differentiates and defines the parties. It is a choice between continued prohibitions on their rights and freedoms or openness and restoration of individual freedoms. Let me say very clearly and unequivocally that come September of this year, these absurd and so fundamentally unjust decrees will go. We will make it a priority of the NFP to restore fully all political, labor and human rights for all Fijians. Ladies and gentlemen, as an academic, I am aware that it is easy to criticize government policies from outside. And I've done that for many years, and many governments in the past have disliked me for that. The business of governing is complicated. Difficult balances are needed when making policies. My work as an academic has also been firmly rooted in the lives of our citizens. And I know that good policies are those that begin from people, that respond to their needs, and that are capable of being implemented by government. Bad policies are those that begin from the need of governments to remain in power, or are incapable of being implemented or derived from the arrogance of the powerful that only they know what is best for our people. Growing up, I watched the arrogance of governments in my rice farming Buketi community in Vanuatu. Successive governments failed my family and its effort to lift itself out of poverty through rice farming. Not because governments were ill-meaning, but they could not get something very simple right. Our people know what is best for them. They need the support of the government. They do not need the government to be against their efforts to lift themselves out of poverty. Growing up as a young adult in an uncertain cool times, when my national identity was questioned, my religious convictions were challenged, I could in despair have also packed up and left this country. Ladies and gentlemen, I did not. My upbringing has taught me virtues of truth, righteousness. It has also taught me that the way to those is often tortured. Politics to me is an extension of those values. Through slow and deliberate collective action, seeking the path of truth, righteousness, and on this journey, solving problems in national life. As an academic, I have also observed that those in government can lose track of what the people need. They are driven by motivations of self-preservation rather than lasting goods to lives of our people. There is a dictum that captures this. I know all, and what I don't know does not exist. And I think many of you have also seen examples of this attitude in our country over the last several years. We are at a defining point in our history. Without doubt, we need a break from the past. Fiji needs leaders who can energize and bring people together, who will bring new passion and fresh perspectives to begin to use politics for the long-term good rather than the short-term goal of self-preservation. Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard that we had a turbulent history since 1987. Consistent political instability has harmed the social, political, and economic fabric of our country. This political instability has been caused by the military's intervention in the political development through its support for the coups. The 2006 coup continued with the tradition of military intervention in our political life. As a nation, we need a calm conversation about how we are going to address this issue. The military will need to introspect and be part of this national conversation. We welcome the new commander of the RFMF, Brigadier General Mosese Tikoitonga's firm assurance that the military will be apolitical, stay neutral during the coming election, and respect the results of the general election later this year. In the last 8 years, ladies and gentlemen, many things have changed. Many of these changes have been haphazard. Many policies are inconsistent and in fact contradict each other. But most of these changes do not reflect inputs from us people who live in this country. We are preparing for a general election under a constitution that has been imposed on our people. It is very important, therefore, to understand our history if we are to confront the challenges that lie ahead with determination. In the preparation for the elections, the last thing our people want is to be fed with propaganda, pie-in-the-sky promises, vote buying, and more short-term populist policies. Policies and promises which will be hard to sustain and fulfill under current difficult economic conditions, and they need to be weighed and pruned. Ladies and gentlemen, as a nation, we have lived in fear over the last 7 years. Fear grips our national life. Fear of being hurt by someone and reported to authorities. Fear of being bullied by those in power. Fear of losing jobs. Fear of being victimized. Fear of losing licenses. Fear of being witch hunted by government agencies. Workers, farmers, taxi drivers, teachers, lawyers, doctors, civil servants, academics, journalists, business people, many NGOs, some brave NGOs are here, and the representatives are here, and Shamima Ali is here. Fear of being victimized for being critical of the government. This induced culture of extreme fear, ladies and gentlemen, has harmed our prosperity and development. It will be a long and difficult journey to re-establish an open, vibrant democracy that derives its core strength from the free expression of our citizens, debate and open discussion. There is an unhealthy, condescending attitude that prevails in our country. If you question government policies, you will be told by the Prime Minister and the Attorney General that you are an old politician. You are anti-Fiji. To paraphrase, the power and freedom to question is the basis of human progress. We have lost that power, ladies and gentlemen. We have lost that power in this country. Today, I ask the people of this country to ask questions to this government. Ask frank and difficult questions of us and all those who seek your permission to represent you. To the government, you may direct questions about your freedoms. Freedom to say things and be reported by the media. Freedom to ask why you are paying so much for rice. Why so much for milk? Why so much for chicken, oil, kerosene, and many others. Freedom to ask why you are paying so much in water bills, in electricity bills. You need to ask why it is that you cannot get a doctor to see in a hospital when you need him or her. Freedom to ask why you are paying punishing fees and charges to set up and operate a small business. We have crucially not had the freedom to ask the Auditor General's report why the Auditor General's report has not been made public. Freedom to ask why the Public Accounts Committee has been disbanded without releasing report for the years of Bainimarama government. And to us, you ask us what is it that we offer as an alternative. The present government has tried to buy our citizens through doles and freebies. People in this country don't need pity, they need respect. They need the freedoms to be restored. Rather than expensive freebies, they need decent and secure jobs. They need secure pensions. They need reasonable prices for the food they buy. Most of all, they need fair play. Fair play means that the government makes credible and sound economic policies that encourages people and companies to innovate, to initiate new ideas, to invest. They need a level playing field. They need less intrusive government. From economic progress, ladies and gentlemen, will come security and progress our people. Our economic performance since 2007 has been dismal. On average, the economy has grown just over by 1% in the past 8 years. The persistence of political instability, poor investor confidence, lack of investment in infrastructure, land lease problems, inconsistent government policies, restrictive decrees, high cost of doing business means confidence in our economy has remained low. We need to rupture this cycle of low confidence and low growth. Business and employers want certainty in the business environment. Our skilled and professional and unskilled workers want predictability in their employment. They will give their best when they know that their jobs are secure and their wages are fair. Government policy, in my view, has been confused, designed to support certain industries, favor business selectively. Growth will not happen, ladies and gentlemen, if government selectively favors businesses based on their support to the government. Progress will not happen if concessions are granted to businesses based on their loyalty to government. It is possible in an open and free environment with a fair and credible business policy regime to position Fiji on a high growth path well in excess of 6% per annum. This is our ambition within 2 years of the party in government. For a high growth trajectory, we have to free up our small businesses. The many decrees, fees, fines, charges, business licenses that have added undue burden to a silent majority of businesses are killing the initiative and effort. Most affected are those trying to set up small businesses such as road stalls, small operators, taxi owners, farmers, grog dealers, even small farmers. They face a barrage of harassment by LTA officials, FERCA officials, Town Council, Water Authority, FEA, Commerce Commission, TLTB, Lands Department, and many others. They sometimes feel that the whole architecture of government is working against them rather than for them. NFP will remove all impediments in the way of our small businesses. In government, we will provide a supportive environment for small businesses and will provide incentives to support people trying to make a living by operating small operations. Reducing prices. I know the heat is on. Our economic performance has resulted, poor economic performance has resulted in rising poverty. Rising unemployment, frustrated workers with low wages. The biggest killer for our people, ladies and gentlemen, has been rising prices of food and utilities. When government took over power, they promised to reduce VAT from 12.5% to 10%. Instead, they raised it to 15%. The dollar was devalued by 20%. Prices have increased by 45.3% since 2006. Food prices, ladies and gentlemen, went up by 60%. Heating and lighting prices also by 60%. Transport by 51%. These are not my figures, ladies and gentlemen. These are government's own figures. And let me say this. In government, the NFP will reduce the VAT from 15 to 10%. We will reduce it from 15 to 10%. Immediately, and providing relief on the growing cost of essential food items. We will review all import duties and on important food items to reduce price further. Forcefully tackling poverty. Poverty is a blight on our country, a blight on our humanity. And at independence, only 7% of our families were poor. It has grown fivefold. At 35%, more than 1 in every 3 child, women, and men in this country now lives in poverty. This is unacceptable. Over the same period, many countries in the world have made remarkable progress in reducing poverty. To make matters worse, the government imposed a national minimum wage of $2 per hour, when the people who did the research were recommending more than $2. You know what it comes? $88 per week. This is a joke. This is a joke that this government is perpetrating on the people of this country. Others who are being paid above the minimum wage, as I said, have suffered a large decrease in the purchasing power. Some of these workers, let me say, were blatantly let down by certain trade union leaders from the Fiji Trade Union Congress. And I see that some of them are now trying to form a breakaway party. There are others who joined the coup and helped muzzle the poor in this country. They'll also need to answer to the people of this country. Additionally, government, through some of its deliberate policies, has made the rich richer and poor more poorer. We will also seek answers to the many questions about our FNPF. Since 1987, the FNPF has been mismanaged. The NFP will call for a review of the management structure, We will ask for more representation on the board by the workers' representatives, and we will review the contractual violations to the pension rates for our pensioners. NFP will also abolish all decrees, including the Essential National Industries Decree, restricting the rights of workers in this country, and allow unions to operate in the spirit of dialogue and consultation with employers. We will re-establish the tripartite forum where employers, governments, and the unions will have the platform to deal with issues affecting the workers in this country. We will revise the minimum wages based on different sectors, and we will make the Wages Council work more efficiently and effectively. Creating decent jobs in this country, ladies and gentlemen. Now where is the evidence of failure of government seen more clearly than through unemployment? Thousands of graduates, school leavers, and skilled people cannot find jobs. This is because there has been no growth in the manufacturing sector and indeed in the agriculture sector. The National Employment Center statistics tells us that out of 26,000 registered job seekers between 2010 and 2012, only 4,000 found jobs in the formal sector. More recently, the figure registered at the NEC has risen to 30,000. And of these, 1,000 are university graduates. It breaks the hearts of parents who borrow to support higher education for their children, when they see them out of work on completion of their studies. It breaks the heart of the youth who work relentlessly to complete their higher education, then rather than have a decent job, find themselves jobless. This pain is being played out in many of our families every day, ladies and gentlemen. NFP on the sugar industry will seriously look at how we can negotiate better deals with the European Union and other markets. In government, NFP will substantially invest in the industry to rebuild confidence of farmers. I think farmers in this country, sugarcane farmers in this country, have lost confidence. We will introduce private sector innovations and rebuild trust in our external markets. We will reinstate our bipartisan approach to the management of the sugar industry. We will re-establish the elected Sugarcane Growers Council to create cohesion and cooperation among the sugarcane farmers in the country. They continue to pay their levies. Ladies and gentlemen, the neglect by government of the sugarcane farmers in this country is a serious indictment on the performance of this government. The government's policy on agricultural development in the last 7 years have been confused. The incentive structure has been confused with promoting import substitution and export promotion. We're trying to grow potatoes in this country when we know that it is not going to work. We will define a very clear agricultural policy linked to our export market so that our farmers can increase production and increase income through export-led agriculture development. On land use and land use policy, the NFP will promote a master lease concept where government leases all agricultural land from landowners and then releases it to tenant farmers for a minimum tenure which is acceptable to both the landowners and the farmers. We will push for agricultural and residential tenants leasing Crown land, C, be provided the option to buy the land at a price following valuation of the unimproved capital value of the land. Our healthcare systems, ladies and gentlemen, are in decay. The health authorities are struggling in their ability to deal with the recent outbreak of dengue. In fact, we might have become the dengue capital of the world. The deteriorating level of services in our hospitals around the country is shocking. Lack of doctors, nurses, medicine, neglect of patients is a familiar story for a lot of people. In the last 7 years, policymakers and planners of healthcare delivery in Fiji have not been able to put in place a durable and need-based healthcare system. Today, death from non-communicable diseases has risen to over 80%. People are dying of heart diseases, blood pressure, diabetes, because of lack of basic medical care at an early age or early stage to prevent these diseases. In addition to the difficulty in buying the appropriate balanced food diet because of the cost. NFP will deal with this situation immediately by instituting a commission of inquiry within the first 6 months in government, and we will look at how we can improve the facilities in our hospitals. Education, ladies and gentlemen. We have no quarrels with government's stated priority for education for all the people in this country. In fact, we commend them for some policies, and NFP will maintain the increase in school grants. However, we also feel that in the rush to create populist reforms, they have messed up the whole education system. Starting from primary and right through secondary and tertiary education, government policies have been confused, haphazard, ad hoc. Removal of exams, new assessment methods, new curriculum have all been implemented without much thought on its impact and on quality. There is an urgent need to review the curriculum and review the processes that this government has put in place. We appreciate and understand government's attempt to provide scholarships and loans for all students who qualify for higher education. We will, however, review the structure of TELS and its secretariat while maintaining a goal of providing scholarship and loans to all students. The NFP will keep the top-up scheme for the 600 highest achievers in Form 7. However, those who do not make the cut in the 600, we will introduce a means-tested scholarship. This will ensure that students from very poor families will get full scholarship and will not be forced to take a loan. We will also convert all loans in 2014 to means-tested scholarship for those who meet the criteria. In addition, the NFP will review the teachers' salaries, school head salaries, to ensure that the level of work that they do is commensurate with the salaries they receive. Delivering services, ladies and gentlemen. When the coup happened in 2006, we were promised fair and equal treatment in many things, including the civil service appointments. The regime promised that military officers will not be appointed. The reality today is quite different. The Public Service Commission chairman, and I say the permanent secretary of PSC, appear to have shut their eyes and have peddled the appointments of persons based on who they are and not on merit. We know that there are many hard-working civil servants, and we commend them for their hard work and understanding. I'm talking about those that have moved up the ladder so quickly and so fast under this government, fueling a culture of mediocrity. Board appointments, CEOs of government-owned companies are all good examples of appointments made on the basis of considerations other than merit. The current coup regime unilaterally reduced the public service retirement age. This policy, ladies and gentlemen, is a no-brainer. It should have never been implemented. NFP and government will restore the retirement age to 60. In addition, we will extend this to 65 on an annual contract on the basis of needs. NFP will focus on civil service, on delivering services to our citizens in a time-bound manner and have clear procedures for resolving citizens' grievances in a timely manner. Of our international partners, let me thank you for remaining engaged with Fiji in these rough times. We value greatly your support. In going forward, we look to deepening our dialogue with all of Fiji's development partners. Fiji's development needs are many, from education to health, to environmental degradation, to marine resource preservation, to boosting microfinance access in semi-urban and rural areas, to rural infrastructure and rehabilitation. We will work with development partners to seek their financing, technical support across priority areas. We want to focus their support to creating jobs and boosting incomes within these areas, especially in rural and semi-urban areas. Making the right choices. Ladies and gentlemen, I will lead a new NFP in this election. And I urge you to, especially the young and the youth, to listen to us. Listen to what we have to offer. Ask any questions you may have. Check out our vision for this country. We know that these are difficult but not hopeless times. with the right choices, our future is bright. We need leaders who can move beyond the hell of egoism and embrace ideas from others, embrace dissent, embrace humility, understand the needs and aspirations of our people. And I can say that the new NFP is a party which will stick to its enduring values of freedom for our people, democracy and good governance, humility and understanding of the unique nature of our society. It believes in an open and accountable government. We understand and we will embrace changes in the expectations of our young people. We understand the aspirations of living in a free, peaceful and progressive country. Let me say this. The days when young, smart, educated, skilled persons and women chose to stay out of politics are over. I believe more and more young people, especially women, have become conscious of the fact that they have lost freedom. They have lost prosperity and they need to do something. More and more young people and women are convinced that they cannot remain apolitical. There is too much at stake. I know that our young and women want freedom. They want respect. They don't want to be told all the time what is good for them. They don't want to be told what they should study and why. They want to be part of the future of this country. And I can assure you, the new NFP provides that opportunity. It's a party where young and women activists can develop their leadership skills. And I agree with Ratu Joni that as a party, we will need to ensure that we have significant number of women candidates in this election. And our manifesto, which will be released in May or June, will contain policies towards gender equality and empowerment of women. Ladies and gentlemen, in the next few months, both the President and I, together with key leaders of the National Federation Party, will travel throughout the country. We will present and discuss our policies. We will listen to you as we travel and review our programs and proposals based on your contributions. We'll take programs and policies that flow from these into our government. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also say that we are not in an environment which promotes free and fair election. This is yet to come, and I hope it will come. This cannot be as long as the long list of restrictions on media remain and the bias of public sector media organizations are not reduced. And I say to Mr. Bainimarama, if you want our citizens to have the freedom to choose, please free our media. Remove the punishing decrees. Ask the media to give equal coverage to all political parties. To the journalists in this country, let me say this, we understand your predicament. But you have a large and historic role to play in restoring our democracy. I urge you, therefore, to do your bit in ensuring that Fiji citizens can watch, read, and listen to messages of all political parties and not only that of the government. In the absence of democracy, the media's role as an effective watchdog becomes even more important, and a free and unbiased media is the last bastion of hope for all our citizens. In government, NFP will remove all restrictions to media freedoms. Ladies and gentlemen, in taking this responsibility, I have consulted widely across the country. Based on hundreds of interactions, I have a clear message on their behalf for Mr. Bainimarama. Our people are not stupid. He's right, our people are not stupid. They will think carefully before they vote. They are asking serious questions. They do not buy your propaganda. I have that infinite trust in the goodness of our people. And that is why I'm taking this leadership responsibility. Because come September, they will do the right thing. They will do the right thing. And I also say to Mr. Bainimarama, if you indeed are ready to stand on your record, join me in a public debate on your record. Ladies and gentlemen, this country is at a critical juncture. And I'm going to lead a very talented and committed team in this difficult election. We need your support. Mr. Paul Donindalo, and I offer you an opportunity to make a lasting impact on the future of this country. We are a party of high principles, as you've heard before. We hold the use of force in politics as fundamentally abhorrent. Our party and its leaders have never supported or benefited from a coup. Our leaders have not enriched themselves in the name of the poor. And the new NFP will reclaim its rightful place in Fiji's politics. We will return to Parliament with a substantial number of seats. We will be in government. And we will transform the way we are governed. We will not be dictatorial. We will not be vindictive. We will not harass, and we will not go out on a witch hunt. We will promote a politics of consensus, not partisanship. We will bring in a politics of inclusiveness and not divisiveness. What we desperately need is a clean and efficient government that creates opportunities for a greatest number instead of throwing things at a selected few. Government that is fair and consistent, not vengeful and whimsical, that instills hope instead of fear, that encourages initiative and entrepreneurship instead of killing it. We will engage with young, women, persons with disability. We will not condemn all politicians and leaders and chiefs. We seek out their wisdom and advice. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, and I know the heat is a bit less now, and I seek your permission to say a few words in Hindi for some of our people who do not understand English. भाइयों और बहनों, नेशनल फेडरेशन पार्टी की नेतागिरी को मैंने आज स्वीकार इसलिए किया कि इस पार्टी का जो इतिहास है, इस पार्टी के जो पूर्व नेता थे, इस पार्टी ने इस देश के प्रति, अब खास करके जो हमारे हिंदुस्तानी कौम है उनके प्रति इतिहास से क्या क्या किया है और किस नीति और न्याय के साथ उन्होंने काम किया है, ये हमारे लिए, हमारे बाप दादों के लिए और हमारे भविष्य के लोगों के लिए एक गौरव की बात होगी। आज मैं आप लोगों से ये वादा करता हूं कि मैं इस पार्टी को एक बार फिर पार्लियामेंट के अंदर ले जाने के लिए तैयार खड़ा हूं और मुझे पूर्ण विश्वास है कि इस बार हम संसद में जरूर रहेंगे। इस बात से आप डरे नहीं, इसमें आप किसी तरह का संदेह अपने मन में ना लाए। यह बात समझने की जरूरी है कि इस विधान के नीचे जो चुनाव प्रणाली है उसके द्वारा और जिस तरह से हमारी समर्थन पिछले 6-7 महीनों से हम देख रहे हैं, उससे यह साफ जाहिर है कि नेशनल फेडरेशन पार्टी इस बार संसद में रहेगा। मैं ये भी समझता हूं कि महंगाई की जो बोझ में आप सभी दबे हुए हैं अभी, और जो डर के बोझ से आप दबे हुए हैं, वो भी मैं समझता हूं। और इसीलिए इस पार्टी की लीडरी करने के लिए मैं तैयार हुआ हूं, क्योंकि मैं और हमारे जो साथी रहेंगे, जीतने के बाद अगर हम सरकार में जाते हैं तो महंगाई, हमारी जो महंगाई का जो बोझ है उस पर पहले हम आक्रमण करेंगे और पहला आक्रमण हमारा ये होगा कि हम जो वेट ये सरकार ने लागू किया है 15% का, उसको हम गिराकर 10% करेंगे और गरीबी हम दूर करेंगे। तीसरा, हम ये देखेंगे कि जो बेरोजगारी की समस्या इतनी बढ़ गई है, कैसे हम अपनी नीतियों को बनाते हैं। जो आर्थिक नीति है उसके द्वारा हम सभी लोगों को साथ लाएंगे और पार्टी की जो नीति है जिससे हम न्याय आपको दे सकेंगे, उसको हम आपके समक्ष रखेंगे। अगले 2-3 महीने में हम पूरे देश की भ्रमण करेंगे। हमारी जो नई प्रेसिडेंट है मिस तुपोव इंडालो, उनके साथ मैं आप सभी लोगों से संपर्क करूंगा। सभी इलाके में हम जाएंगे और लोगों को ये बताएंगे कि समय एक बार फिर आ गया है कि नेशनल फेडरेशन पार्टी को हम संसद में भेजें। यही हमारी संदेश रहेगी। जो अंतिम विषय है वो ये मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि हमारे लोग डरे हुए हैं और हमारे गरीब लोग नहीं, सभी तरह के लोग, बिजनेसमैन, जो यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ाते हैं, जो स्कूल मास्टर हैं, जो डॉक्टर है, सभी को डरा कर इस देश में रखा गया है। आपको बताया जा रहा है कि आपको क्या करना चाहिए। जो ये करना चाहते हैं वो करते हैं। हम उसका मुंह तोड़ जवाब देंगे और ये कहेंगे कि हमारे लोगों को इज्जत चाहिए, उनमें हमें विश्वास करना चाहिए। उनके संपर्क के बाद हम नीति बनाएं ताकि उनके हित में जो नीति है वो बने। ये भी हमारी नारा रहेगी और हम आपसे मांग करते हैं, निवेदन करते हैं कि आप हमें अपना समर्थन दें और हम आपकी जो समस्याएं हैं, देश की समस्याएं जो है, प्रजातंत्र की समस्याएं हैं, मानव अधिकार की समस्याएं हैं, उन सभी पर हम बारीकी से जब हम सरकार में जाएंगे तो अपनी जो नीति है उसको बनाएंगे। Ladies and gentlemen, in rebuilding our country, we ask you to join NFP. Support it with your vote, support it with your resources and your time. Let me also make this very clear. The media has not got this right, and the Attorney General continues to parrot this view when the former president of the party on numerous occasions has made it very clear that the NFP will contest the election on its own. We are not in coalition with any party. And I hope the media will get this right. And no leader of another political party or this government has the right to talk about the National Federation Party. When we say we are not in coalition, we are not. We are not. Please get that right. And I ask the Attorney General to get that right. Stop misleading the people of this country. We are here to secure your future. NFP is our people's future. Our people's future. It provides a new beginning, and I urge you all to join in this journey to rebuild our democracy, our economy, and our society. God bless NFP and God bless Fiji.
Madam President, General Secretary, Mr. Kamal Iyer, party stalwarts, and there are many, I'm not going to name all of them, branch delegates, and especially delegates from the Western Division, our National Vice President all the way from Lambasa, Mr. Mo Chan. I want to extend a very special welcome to Ms. Faye Walatambu, President of the National Council of Women. I can also see a veteran journalist, Mr. Nathaniel Rika, and I want to welcome him as well. Thank you so much. A very warm and heartfelt greetings to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, this morning. I want to start with my sincere thanks to all of you for being here this morning, and I apologize for being a bit late in starting our meeting this morning. Since we took the position, both Madam President and I have received tremendous support from throughout the country and from every corner of our country and every section of our society. And that has made us more determined to lead the NFP into government after this election. And we want to offer the people of this country a real hope for the future. That is our intention, and that is what we are going to do. Madam President has stated that we are not partaking in a free and fair election, and I think she is absolutely right. We are not participating in an environment which is free and fair. And until the state privileges decree and the media decree remain in place, 2014 general elections, ladies and gentlemen, cannot be free and fair. The media decree, with its heavy fines and penalties, makes it almost impossible for the country's journalists to cover issues openly and without fear. It makes it impossible for us to project our messages to our people. However, today I want to commend the journalists who, in spite of these harsh restrictions, are doing their best to keep our citizens informed. To these journalists, let me say a big Binagaba Kalebu. The stakes have really been higher and weight on your soldiers so heavy. And I think this country owes you its profound gratitude as you take real risks to help project our messages to Fiji citizens. And on that note, I also call upon media organizations and editors to provide the right environment for our reporters so that they can do their jobs responsibly. I make special mention of the media, ladies and gentlemen, because of its important role in the transition to democracy. To paraphrase a message from the Regional Media and Elections Training Program, freedom is when people can speak. Democracy is when government listens and the media is the messenger. NFP does not fear the media. If the Bainimarama government has nothing to hide, and if it has the moral courage to do the right thing, it should lift the media restrictions with immediate effect. It's not too late. It should do that now. NFP in government will review the media decree. It will remove all of its unreasonable provisions, including the fines and penalties. But we will go much further. Our citizens, our media, our businesses, our NGOs should have a fundamental right to access to information regarding government decisions and actions that affect their lives. We no longer live in the dark ages where governments habitually keep secret public information such as salaries paid to our leaders and allowances they are paid on foreign junkets. We need information on that. An NFP in government will enact a Freedom of Information, Right to Information Bill that will ensure that citizens can demand and be entitled to receive information from the government. An open government is good for our citizens, for our businesses, and for our democracy. Let me just say one more thing before I talk about the issues. Fear in our society. Our people are still afraid after 7 years of bullying, as our president quite rightly said. Our people are still living in fear. They're still afraid. Our youths are afraid. Our civil servants are afraid. Our farmers are afraid. Our women are afraid. Our businessmen are afraid. Some brave ones are here today. They're all afraid of participating actively in the campaign, in this election. And I want to call upon the government to stop the threats, stop the victimization, stop the intimidation of anyone, including media, from participating and articulating their views on any issue regarding the election. And I also call upon the people of this country and say to them that please come out and be part of the election and the campaign process. When we go out to the people, there are women who are asking us, can you campaign? Can you hold meetings? I want to also call upon the Election Commission and the chairman of the Election Commission. Please talk to the people of this country. Tell them that this is time for an election. Tell them that political parties will come around. Candidates will come around. And they should listen to them. They should not be afraid of this government. This is the environment, ladies and gentlemen, we are fighting right now. Let us get the fear out of our minds. It is very important that people come out openly and talk to us. There are 5 issues, ladies and gentlemen, that I want to talk to you today. I know we have our business after this, but I want to put these issues out to you before we get into our substantive meeting, because these are important issues that is affecting our people right now. The first one is the rising cost of living. Second one that I'm going to talk about is the deterioration of our health services. Third is the serious failings of short-term education policies. Fourth is the rising unemployment and worsening welfare of our retirees. And fifth is the need to fix the fundamental flaws of the 2013 Constitution. The burden of the cost of living has become too much. And the responsibility of this lies squarely on the government. Milk is disappearing from our kids' breakfast menu. Most families can no longer afford a balanced diet. Families daily juggle between whether to pay the electricity bills or rent or buy adequate food or pay for school costs. We see this across our villages, in the urban areas, across the squatter settlements, day in and day out. This crime, in my view, again on our people, cannot continue. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the duty of any government to look after the poor. In 8 years, this government has failed to address the rising cost of living. In fact, it has fueled it through its deliberate policies such as the increase in VAT from 12.5% to 15%, and increasing duties for milk, flour, rice, and kerosene. This government's effort to reduce the cost of living are half-hearted at best. The bus fare subsidy and increased school grants might have helped. But Fijians see right through the short-term tricks this government is playing on the poor. Ladies and gentlemen, more than a third of our families live in deep poverty. And poverty cannot be addressed through temporary band-aid type of measures. Poverty and growing inequality as a result of our poor economic performance. In Fiji, there are inequalities of opportunities, inequality of status, of rights, of participation, and running through all this is inequality of income. How can any country progress with such profound inequalities? The gap between rich and poor has never been greater than now. Making this worse is the government's regressive income policy. Why reduce an already lower tax for people earning more than 100,000, yet increase VAT from 12.5% to 15%? It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. And not for the poor anyway. This is why I say that the government has actually run out of ideas. Small operators, taxi owners, drivers, fishermen are all being squeezed by high fuel costs, barrage of fees, punitive fines, discretionary transaction costs imposed by various state agencies. And this is what I mean by government giving with one hand and taking it away with another. And are taking away more than what they are giving on the other hand. So immediate measures to reduce the cost of living, and we have already announced this, is that we will reduce the VAT from 15 to 10%, immediately giving relief to our poor people in this country. We will review the income tax policies to ensure that it is fair, it is not regressive. We will reduce import duties on key food items, which form the basket of the poor. If you go to a supermarket, just go to a normal supermarket, ladies and gentlemen, and see the trolleys. See the trolleys of a large number of people shopping in those supermarkets. And what you will find is basic food items, which is not going to be considered a balanced basket. People don't have milk, people don't have butter, people don't have jam, yet these items attract duties of close to 32%. Yet expensive perfumes, and somebody told me in Nandi that lipsticks as well attract zero duties. How can you do that? How can you do that? The second issue that I want to talk to you today, and I think it is important for our poor people as well, and to all of us, the neglect and mismanagement of the Bainimarama government has led to a frightening deterioration of our health services. Our extremely poor health service is a blight on our nation. There is no other way to put it, ladies and gentlemen. Go to any hospital in the country and you will see the pathetic conditions. Some weeks ago I visited the Ladoka hospital. Women were waiting there for 5 hours to see a doctor. I got in there at 5:30, they were there from 1. The physical condition of the hospital was shameful. Pigeon droppings on the walls, where the patients were in the bed. Potholes, dust right in front of the Ladoka hospital. A hospital should never run out of essential medicines for diabetics, high blood pressure patients, or basic equipment such as syringes for blood tests. I want to call upon the Prime Minister. Take a break from your campaign. Take a break from your campaign. And go and see for yourself the conditions in the hospitals around the country. And maybe he should start in his backyard. Go and see the CWM hospital. Even the expectation of clean and hygienic conditions at our hospital is just too high an expectation from this government. NFP in government, ladies and gentlemen, will introduce a number of initiatives. We will introduce a comprehensive modernization, healthcare modernization program. And it will place our citizens at the heart of the rebuilding healthcare strategy. We will ensure that the medical care that is focused on compassion, respect and dignity for all our citizens. Regardless of age and place of residence, citizens must have access to decent health care. And there are a number of policies, detailed policies that we have already got on our draft manifesto, and we will be putting that out to the people of this country. And what you will find in those details is a very clear, a very transparent approach to improving the health services in this country in a way that would have never been seen before. We can bring, the third issue, ladies and gentlemen, we can bring our education on par with Australia and New Zealand within 10 years. That is our ambition, and that is our commitment, and that is what we are going to do. The last Education Commission report was produced 14 years ago, in 1999. We have yet to seriously look at our education system and whether it is fit for purpose. Education policies in the last 14 years, and indeed in the last 7 years, have been changed in a haphazard manner. Changes to curriculum, school examinations, have all been done without much consultation and discussion. Really, this is amateurish. It is not thoughtful. In government, NFP will appoint a competent education commission to assess the ad hoc reforms of the recent past. It will include an assessment of the status of teachers, school heads, and recommend changes to modernize our education system. This will be implemented by the government within 6 months after the release of the report. NFP believes that all children should have equal access to a world-class education. There's no point just talking about quantity. I was told by a head teacher just a couple of days ago that the staff-student ratio in schools in Suva is 1:60. 1:60. One teacher is looking after 60 students. And the amount of work that has been put onto the teachers in terms of the administration of what they are required to do, teachers are actually scared of becoming teachers now. New ones are being scared away from the teaching profession. We will introduce international benchmarks to monitor the quality of teaching and learning. We will benchmark quality standards against the standards in Australia and New Zealand. Provide incentives for higher caliber students, brighter students to join the teaching profession. Ensure that the schools are equipped with modern technology. And will revise the current external examination and assessment policy, particularly the abolition of Fiji Intermediate Examination, Fiji 8th Year Examination and Fiji Junior Certificate Examination. We will create kindergarten education within the primary school system to ensure that parents understand the value of starting early. NFP also recognizes the importance of tertiary education, and I have talked about this. and we welcome government's scholarship scheme, but we also feel that the scheme has a lot of shortcomings, which means that those students who have marks less than 300, who come from poor families, say a student who scores a mark of 280 out of 400 from Ndongo, or from a school in Asawas, or Louth, or Ra, or Tuketi, that's a damn good mark, compared to a student at Indian College, or MGM, or Natambua, or Lambasa College. We will introduce a means-tested scholarship for any student who's got marks above 250 and who is eligible to go to a tertiary institution, so that we will ensure that the poor parents who have got their kids to get that mark after so many years are not forced to take loans. They will be given scholarships. And for those that have been forced to take loans this year, we will convert them into scholarships when we come into government. The fourth issue, ladies and gentlemen, and here I want to say that the government has neither the ideas, it seems, nor a political will now to create decent employment for our young or protect the livelihoods of our retirees. The best way to address poverty and inequality amongst our families is to ensure that they have decent employment. Youth unemployment, we all know, is the biggest scourge in our society. And we understand the pain of youths and their parents when they come to find employment. Out of the 30,000 students who registered, or unemployed youths who registered at the National Employment Center, 1,000 had degrees or diplomas. Between 2010 and 2012, 26,000 people registered at the National Employment Center. Many of them qualified, and only 4,000 were able to find jobs in the formal sector. This is the situation, ladies and gentlemen, with respect to employment. But quality jobs have to be created by industry. And the National Federation Party will work with the business community to establish a new partnership, new internship programs for young people to acquire skills and work experience. And I'll be speaking on a separate occasion entirely on what the NFP's policy or economic policy would be with respect to businesses and how we are going to ensure that we achieve economic growth in this country, which is sustainable and which is inclusive and which will create more jobs. I was in Nandi yesterday and I met 20 small and medium enterprises owners in the Western Division. And I can tell you, the burden, the problems, the harassment that these small businesses are facing from state institutions, whether it's Commerce Commission, LTA, FERCA, Lands Department, Water Authority, town councils, everywhere. Everywhere. State institutions are burdening these small and medium enterprises. Yet, if you look at the evidence around the world and evidence in Fiji, small and medium enterprises can create a significant number of jobs apart from the big businesses. And NFP will have a very, very clear policy on those particular group of businesses in this country. We want to make a very clear commitment to our young. We will create decent work for you. Our investments in education and our future will not be allowed to be criminally wasted any longer. On the civil servants, on the retirees, one of the biggest pains that this government inflicted on many civil servants, loyal civil servants, is to retire them unjustly and prematurely, without any notice. People had planned their life. People had planned their families, plans for their children, that they were going to work until 60. And here comes this government, unelected government, retiring these people prematurely and unjustly. Many of these people have suffered significantly and are suffering. Many had financial commitments. They were basically left high and dry. NFP in government will review the status of the retirees in the last 5 years with a view to providing them with appropriate compensation. NFP has already announced that it will immediately extend the retirement age to 60. And as I have stated before, NFP in government will review the operations of the FNPF. We will restructure the FNPF board with more workers and employers representatives and review the contractual agreements that have been violated by this government. The FNPF must evolve into a pension fund and not just remain a retirement savings fund. To this end, we will call a tripartite meeting within the first 6 months in government and agree to review all the benefits with a view to restoring some of the past benefits which have been removed. NFP will make sure that at the end of their working lives, the people of Fiji retire with dignity and secure savings. We will develop a partnership model where employers, unions and government will meet regularly to decide on policies for training, investment, wage setting and welfare policy. We will use this partnership model to provide a new living wage, wages with which families can afford the basic necessities for a decent living. For our workers and not the shamefully low minimum wage of $2 per hour. Our poor people, especially those in the squatter settlements, are living in inhumane conditions, unacceptable in a modern Fiji. Poor housing leads to poor health, especially among the children and the elderly. And in fact, I want to again invite the Prime Minister and his whole cabinet to join me on a visit to some of these squatter settlements and see the situation in those settlements and conditions under which some 25% of our people live in this country. And it pains me to say that successive governments, including this government, has failed the poor squatter families for a long time. NFP will review the national housing policy and focus specifically on squatter settlements in the country. We will work towards providing a dedicated department within the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development to deal with the problems of housing and infrastructure in the squatter settlements. Development partners, churches, community organizations need to be involved in the task of increasing the supply of low-cost, high-quality houses so that those moving towards the urban areas are able to own and rent decent homes. The last issue, ladies and gentlemen, NFP will certainly review the Constitution. Those in power will simply have to get used to this fact. Let us not forget that we are fighting this election on a new and indeed an imposed constitution under a new electoral system. The NFP is confident of being in government this time. We will seek an urgent review of the constitution within the parliamentary framework. There are provisions such as excessive powers vested in the Prime Minister, in the Attorney General, and several derogations to the Bill of Rights, amongst others, that would need to be reviewed. We make no apologies for our commitment to review this imposed constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, we offer a very clear path and way forward. I do not want to mince my words here. Let me say that 2014 budget was a cynical election year stunt by this government. It's a cosmetic budget, in some ways designed to mislead the public and get its vote. It's designed to gloss over all the serious problems that have been created for our people in the last 7 years. We want an inclusive nation based on equality, secure in its future, and capable of dealing with painful past. A nation where everyone can talk, give opinions freely, and different voices are welcomed and not crushed. Where citizens do not live in fear of their own government. Basically, we are living in fear of our own government. A Fiji where everyone will have equal opportunities in the civil service, in the corporate sector, in the appointments of boards. And you know what's happening in the civil service. You know what's happening in the government corporate bodies. You know that. I don't need to go into those details. We will provide some statistics at some point in time. Where wages and salaries growth is higher than inflation. And above all, ladies and gentlemen, I think we need to build a democratic Fiji, where the aspirations of different communities are respected and nurtured. NFP is asking you, people of this country, to give us an opportunity to do all this for you. Our team, and let me say, we will have one of the best teams in this election from NFP. A very multiracial team, a team with some formidable women and men capable of running this country. That is the team that I propose to offer to the people of this country. The team that you will be able to trust. A team that will be honest, that will be transparent, that will offer you very clear policies of building a vibrant nation and a vibrant economy, that will make all our citizens proud. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Vinaka Baklevu, and God bless Fiji. With your permission, ladies and gentlemen, let me say a few words in Hindi as well, for some of our people who may not have understood what I've said in English, and I'll be very brief. भाइयों और बहनों, सर्वप्रथम मैं आप सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं, जो कि आप लोगों ने अपने समय को निकालकर हमारे इस वर्किंग कमेटी में भाग लिए हैं। खास करके मैं हमारे जो उप प्रधान है माननीय प्रमोद चंद जी बनवाले से आए हैं, हमारे जो वेस्टर्न डिवीजन के कार्यकर्ता हैं भाई प्रेम सिंह, रमेश नायडू, विश्वा और भी जो उनके साथी आज यहाँ पर उपस्थित हैं, मैं आप सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं कि आप लोग आज यहाँ पर उपस्थित हुए। भाइयों, ये चुनाव में जो हम भाग ले रहे हैं, ये हमारे लिए और यूं कहिए हमारे लोगों के लिए एक इतनी बड़ी चुनौती है कि जिसके बारे में मैं बहुत गंभीरता से और बारीकी से आपको यहां पर बता भी नहीं सकता, क्योंकि समय नहीं। लेकिन हमारे लोगों के लिए ये चुनाव इतनी महत्वपूर्ण हो सकती है और है कि अगर इस चुनाव में हम ईमानदारी से, सच्चाई से और जो अभी दिख रहा है, जो अभी आपको मिल रहा है, उसको छोड़कर अगर देखेंगे तो हमारी जो भविष्य है वो हमें दिखाई देगी। और नेशनल फेडरेशन पार्टी का जो इतिहास है भाइयों और बहनों, और हमारे जो पूर्व लीडर थे, उन्होंने इस देश की चुनौतियों में से ऐसे समय पर अपना योगदान दिया जिससे उन्होंने यहाँ के लोगों के लिए, इस देश के लिए जो वातावरण कायम किया था, वो हमारे बच्चों के लिए, हमारे नए पीढ़ियों के लिए ठीक किया था। जिस तरह से पिछले 7 वर्षों में इस देश में हमारे लोगों को जो प्रोपेगेंडा है, जो बताया गया जा रहा था, 5 या 6 साल कुछ नहीं हुआ, अपना उल्लू सीधा कर रहे थे लोग। इलेक्शन से पहले आ गए आपके साथ, रेडियो, टेलीविजन, न्यूज़पेपर सभी को खत्म कर दिया, सभी को उस जगह पर ले जाकर कर दिया कि केवल उनकी ही बात, इस सरकार की बात लोगों के पास जाए। एक ही रास्ता, एक ही रास्ता, सरकारी प्रगति, सरकारी प्रगति, सरकारी प्रगति। प्राइम मिनिस्टर की छापा, अटॉर्नी जनरल की छापा, न्यूज़पेपर में, टेलीविजन में, बस देखो ही देखो। लेकिन इस विधान के अंतर्गत, इस चुनाव प्रणाली के अंतर्गत इसका परिणाम क्या होता है और क्या हो सकता है, ये हमें नहीं बता रहे हैं। हमें नहीं बता रहे हैं। सभी कुछ कर रहे हैं। चुनाव जो प्रणाली है, वो जो बैलेट पेपर बना दिया, नंबर कर दिया। जैसे पहले कॉलोनियल समय के साथ जब वो नंबर मिलता था, कोड नंबर में, जेल में अगर जाओ तो प्रिजनर नंबर मिल जाता है। तो जिस दिन मैं एक उम्मीदवार घोषित करूंगा, विमान प्रसाद एक नंबर हो जाएगा, मैं पीछे लगा लूंगा नंबर 420 भी हो सकता है। ये सरकार हमारे लोगों के साथ मजाक कर रही है। और मैं इस मीटिंग में आज ये नहीं बताना चाहता हूं कि क्या क्या परिणाम इस चुनाव प्रणाली के तहत हो सकता है और कैसे हमारे लोग किस जगह पर जाकर फंस जाएंगे, ये मैं कभी बाद में बताऊंगा। लेकिन इसके बारे में आप लोग सोचिए, आप लोग सोचिए, बारीकी से सोचिए। और इसीलिए मैं और हमारे जो साथी हैं, और जिस तरह से नेशनल फेडरेशन पार्टी को समर्थन मिल रही है, उससे मुझे पूरा विश्वास है, अनुमान है कि जरूर हम सरकार में इस बार रहेंगे। और हमें आपको मजबूती से सरकार में भेजना है, मजबूती से और एकता के साथ। हमारे साथ केवल हमारे भारतीय लोग नहीं आ रहे हैं, हमारे साथ हमारे जो आदिवासी के समाज के लोग हैं। और जब हम अपनी उम्मीदवारों की घोषणा करेंगे, आप देखेंगे कि हमारे साथ कितने धुरंधर और बुलंद आवाज उठाने वाली आदिवासी महिलाएं। हमारी प्रेसिडेंट तो है ही, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ और जो आएंगे, उससे हम ये दिखाएंगे कि हमारे पास लोग हैं, बुलंद लोग हैं। और ये भी मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं कि ठीक है, सरकार जो आपको दे रही है बस फेयर, स्कूल फीस, ये उनको देना चाहिए, कोई भी सरकार को देना चाहिए। 5 साल नहीं दिए, इलेक्शन से पहले दे रहे, फिर भी ठीक है, चलो दे रहे हैं। लेकिन आपसे क्या ले रहे हैं, और मैं बताऊं, जो खाने पीने की पदार्थ है, उनकी दामों में पिछले 7 वर्षों से 60% की वृद्धि हुई है। लाइटिंग एंड हीटिंग, गैस, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बिल, वाटर बिल, इसको अगर साथ जोड़ते हो तो वहां पर भी बिल 60% से ऊपर गया, 60% से ऊपर। ट्रांसपोर्ट लगभग भी 50% से। तो यहां आपको $2-4 दिया, जो सौदा आप 2007 में $100 में खरीद रहे थे हफ्ते के लिए, आज 160 में खरीद रहे हो। जो बिल $100 होता था आज $160 हो गया। थोड़ा सा यहां दिया, इतना सा यहां ले लिया, आपका जो नेट पोजीशन है वो वहां चला गया। गरीबी का दर इस देश में भाइयों और बहनों, फिजी के इतिहास में सबसे ज्यादा इस सरकार के नीचे हुआ है, सबसे ज्यादा। महंगाई का दर जो बोझ हमारे लोगों के ऊपर है, सबसे ज्यादा इस सरकार के पिछले 7 वर्षों में हुआ है। दिस इज अ फैक्ट। ये मेरा आंकड़ा नहीं है, ये ब्यूरो ऑफ स्टैटिस्टिक्स का आंकड़ा है, उसका आमदन किए, वो हम दिखा रहे हैं। तो विषय ये है कि अन्य पार्टियों के मिलान में, और अभी लोग आपके सामने आएंगे, और लोग, वही लोग जो इस coup का समर्थन किया था, किए थे, वही लोग जो FNPF बोर्ड में जाकर बैठे थे, वही लोग जो नतंदोला चलाना चाहते थे, वही लोग जो लैंपचौस पर ड्यूटी ऊपर किए थे, चाय पर ड्यूटी ऊपर किए थे, वही आज प्रजातंत्र की बात कर रहे हैं, वही फिर घूम रहे हैं, वही घूम रहे हैं कि चलो हम फिर, अरे भैया आपने तो coup सपोर्ट किया था, आप तो जाकर वहां बैठे थे, आप तो उनको समर्थन दे रहे थे, आप तो कॉमनवेल्थ तक पहुंच गए थे, ऑस्ट्रेलिया पहुंच गए थे, न्यूजीलैंड पहुंच गए थे, कुछ लोग तो इंटरनेशनल जो यूनियन मूवमेंट वहां पहुंच गए थे, उनको जाकर बताया कि नहीं, फिजी में जो हो रहा है सब ठीक है। लेकिन आज घूमकर क्या बोलते हैं? ऐसे लोगों को विश्वास मत करना। नेशनल फेडरेशन पार्टी के जो पहले लीडर थे, उन्होंने हर बार, हर समय एक नीति है जिसको बारीकी से अपनाया था, ईमानदारी, जनता के साथ ईमानदारी, जनता के साथ बेईमानी नहीं। और इस बार भाइयों और बहनों, हमारे लोगों के लिए इस चुनाव में मैं समझता हूं कि एक ही पार्टी है जिसके पास लोगों के प्रति आदर, सम्मान, सच्चाई और ईमानदारी है। और उसी वसूलों को, उसी सिद्धांतों को लेकर मैं नेशनल फेडरेशन पार्टी को इस चुनाव में ले जाऊंगा। और मैं बताऊं, ये सहज चुनाव नहीं है, इसमें लोग गुमराह हो गए, इसमें लोग डर गए, और इसमें हमें बहुत काम करना है, बहुत काम करना है। हमें एक एक घर पर जाना पड़ेगा, लोगों के साथ समय बिताना पड़ेगा, हमें हमारे उम्मीदवारों को बहुत काम करना है। और आप सब जो आज यहाँ पर उपस्थित हैं, मैं केवल आप लोगों से यही मांग कर रहा हूं कि अब बैठने का समय नहीं। अगर हम इस देश की भविष्य चाहते हैं, हमारे लोगों की भविष्य चाहते हैं, तो हमें इतनी मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी, ऐसा मेहनत हमें शायद पहले कभी नहीं करना पड़ा था, जो इस बार हमें करना पड़ेगा हमारे पार्टी के लिए, पार्टी को करना पड़ेगा। तो एक बार फिर मैं आपसे यही निवेदन करता हूं और मांग करता हूं कि हमारे पास बहुत समय नहीं है, हमारे पास वो लोग नहीं है, गवर्नमेंट का पैसा नहीं है, गवर्नमेंट का गाड़ी नहीं है, गवर्नमेंट का टेलीविजन नहीं है, गवर्नमेंट का न्यूज़पेपर नहीं है। हमारे पास आप लोग, हमारे पार्टी के आप लोग, आप हमारे दल हो, आप हमारे मेहनत करने वाले लोग, और जो आज हमारे लोग यहाँ पर नहीं है उनके पास भी आप ये संदेश भेजें। हम खुद जो यहाँ आगे बैठे हैं, जो आपके लीडर हैं, हम पूरी मेहनत करेंगे, 1 घंटा भी हम नहीं बर्बाद करेंगे। आज से इलेक्शन तक रात और दिन हम काम करेंगे, क्योंकि मुझे व्यक्तिगत तौर पे मुझे ये लगता है, और इसीलिए मैं अपना काम ये सब छोड़कर आया। लोग कहते हैं कि विमान पागल हो गया, लेकिन मैं इस चुनाव के बाद आराम की नींद सोना चाहता हूं। कुछ भी हो चुनाव, कि मैं ये बोल सकता हूं कि कम से कम नेशनल फेडरेशन पार्टी के लोग, उनके जो लीडर हैं, उनके जो समर्थक हैं, उन्होंने जनता के साथ जाकर उनको सच्चाई, उनको एक मार्ग, उनको एक रास्ता दिखाने की कोशिश किया। मुझे पूर्ण विश्वास है कि जिस तरह से हमें समर्थन मिल रही है, काम ज्यादा करना पड़ेगा, लेकिन अगर उसी तरह अगर हम आज से और चुनाव तक करते रहेंगे तो हम जरूर सरकार में रहेंगे, और उसी में हमारे देश की भलाई होगी।